Hey guys, Big Dave here. Time for Unit 1 review. Oh man, it's so beautiful out here in Morro Bay at my house on the deck. Got the ocean behind me, 70 degrees, light breeze. I'm getting pretty relaxed here. I got Jackson here, my executive producer. Jackson, go get me a Mai Tai in here. It'll make this review go better.
I already told you, Dad, no Mai Tai slots where we get the work done.
You see how kids are? This is ridiculous. You know, Jackson, I'm getting so many views. We've done such a good job on these videos, this Big Dave YouTube channel. I think I need to monetize this. I'm kind of thinking 805, Jose Cuervo, National Geographic might sponsor me. Do you think the college would have a problem with that?
I already told you, if we do that, you'll get fired.
Oh man, and you're worried I'll get fired only because you want me to pay for your college, is that right?
Exactly, bro.
I see how this works. No good reason at all to have kids. I can't figure this out. All right, so let's do this, guys. I got the study guide here. So be sure you type out everything, right? Don't turn in handwritten stuff. On the vocabulary, write the term down and the definition. On the study guide, type the questions and the answers. On the essay, of course, type it out. And give me 2 citations. Your textbook can be one, but don't use this video as the other. At least give me one outside citation for this. And type out the citations at the end of your essay. All right, let's see here. It says, from your textbook, study the following maps. Do not worry about that in the online course. But do answer questions 2 through 7 from the book. Type out those answers. The most recent version of the textbook will have all the answers in it. Older editions might have a few in it. You're better off getting the newest edition if you possibly can. Additional hints from the lectures. Here we go. Where was the U.S. Rust Belt located? It's the northeast part of our country. During the 1970s and 80s, heavy industry like automobile industry and the steel industry kind of went into a decline, and that part of our country became known as the Rust Belt. What are the first world countries or regions? Okay, that would be the United States and Canada, Western Europe, Israel, let's see, Australia, New Zealand, Japan, South Korea, Singapore. Those would all be really good examples for you. The Cajuns are French exiles from Nova Scotia who made their way down to Louisiana. And that's the Cajun cultures down on the Delta. Great music, great food, Cajun food. All right, name the tectonic and gradational processes. Tectonic processes are those processes that want to build up the Earth's crust. Gradational processes want to wear down high places and fill in low places and make everything nice and flat. So tectonic processes include folding, faulting, and volcanism. So entire mountain ranges can be uplifted through folding. Folding is a wrinkling of the Earth's crust by compression. If I put my hands on a big white tablecloth and brought them together, I would create some folds. Same thing can happen on the Earth's crust. So mountain ranges like the Ural Mountains of Russia or the Appalachians in the United States, the Rocky Mountains have a lot of folds in them. A fault is a crack in the Earth's crust along which some movement occurs. So the east side of the Sierra Nevada mountains has been uplifted by earthquakes, by faults. The east side of the Grand Tetons in Wyoming. So we can uplift mountain ranges as a result of earthquakes. Thousands and thousands of earthquakes over millions of years. Volcanism, volcanoes can create mountain ranges too, like the Cascades of the Pacific Northwest United States. The Andes of South America are volcanic mountain ranges. Gradational processes want to wear down the mountains, want to make everything flat like the Great Central Valley, like parts of the Great Plains. So that would be running water, like rivers and so forth. That would be wind, helps wear down mountain ranges too. Waves and currents help wear down coastlines also. So running water, okay, waves and currents, wind, and glaciers. Glaciers have carved out many of the high mountain ranges around the world, have made the Sierra Nevada so incredibly beautiful, the Rocky Mountains so beautiful, the Cascades. So tectonic processes want to build things up. Gradational processes want to wear things down. What are the populations and the growth rates for the world and the U.S.? Well, let's put the world at about 8 billion right now, growing at just about 1% per year. The United States, we're at about 335 million right now, growing at about 1% also. The law of 70. What you do is you take the growth rate and divide it into 70. It will give you doubling times. You can do this for your money also. For example, if a country like the United States is growing at 1% and continues to grow at 1%, its population will double in approximately 70 years. A country like maybe Kenya, growing at 3%. The population, if it continues to grow at that rate, might double in 23, 24 years. Maybe some Latin American country growing at about 2%. If it continued to grow at 2%, the population would double in about 35 years. So divide the growth rate into 70. Latitude and longitude, those are measures of distance. So latitude lines are called parallels. They run across the map. They run east-west to tell you how far north or south you are of the equator, to a maximum of 90 degrees. 90 degrees north is the North Pole. 90 degrees south is the South Pole. Longitude lines are more accurately called meridians. Meridians run north-south. They have to tell you how far east or west you are of the prime meridian, which is 0 degrees longitude. So the max you can go to is 180 east or 180 west. That would be the same line, the 180th meridian. What is a post-industrial transformation? Okay, so United States kind of started this post-industrial transformation in the 1970s and 80s, as I mentioned before, when heavy industry started to decline a little bit. So what happens is you have a decline in the percentage of jobs in the primary and the secondary sectors of our economy, and an increase in jobs in the tertiary and the quaternary sectors of our economy. Primary sector is the extractive sector. It's like mining and fishing and agriculture, the timber industry. You're taking things from the earth. The secondary sector is manufacturing, where you turn raw materials into finished products. Tertiary sector is the service sector of the economy. You are an insurance salesman. You're a stockbroker. You are a burger flipper. You're a flight attendant. You're providing services for people who are extracting from the earth or making things. The quaternary sector is the information sector of the economy. So again, when you have a decline in the primary, secondary sectors and an increase in the tertiary, quaternary sectors, which you guys have really seen in your lifetime, the information sector exploding, that is a post-industrial transformation. Where are the large conurbations located in the U.S. and Canada? A conurbation is the spatial merging of two or more cities, where everything kind of just grows together, like the LA Basin, like Phoenix, and so forth. So the largest conurbations in the United States and Canada, number one is Bowash. Stretches about 500 miles along the I-95 corridor back east from Boston to Washington, D.C. Might be 50 million people or so there. The lower Great Lakes, Detroit, Pittsburgh, Cleveland, that area, maybe 15 to 20 million people. The coast of Florida, wow, a lot of people along the coast, the Atlantic coast and the Gulf Coast, maybe 18 million people or so. San Francisco Bay Area to San Diego. Now, I know there's some open spaces along the Central Coast here, thank goodness. But if you were to take that entire area, there's probably 30 million people plus living from the Bay Area all the way down to San Diego. So San. Canada, just one I want you to write down. It's called Main Street. It's in, it'd be southeast Canada. It stretches from Windsor to Quebec City. Half of Canada's population lives there. It would include Montreal and Toronto and Quebec City. All right, let's see here. Know some important measures of development. So how do we determine whether a country is first world or third world? Right? First world countries are the developed countries. Third world countries are the underdeveloped countries. Fourth world countries like Haiti and Afghanistan, those are the poorest of the very poor. The term second world really isn't used much anymore. It used to refer to the Soviet Union and the Eastern Bloc countries, those Eastern European countries like Poland, Hungary, Romania, and so forth, that were under the influence of the Soviet Union. So to determine if a country is developed or not, different studies use different measures. Some of the most commonly used measures are the population growth rate. It's going to be higher in the third world than in the first world. Productivity per worker, how many whatevers can you produce per hour? Definitely higher in the developed world compared to the underdeveloped world. So United States, Japan, South Korea, extremely productive workforces. The percentage of people involved in agriculture, or the percentage of people living on farms, that's going to be higher in the third world, lower in the first world. Per capita energy consumption. we use a lot of energy in this country and in Canada and in Japan. So per capita energy consumption higher in the first world than in the third world. Transportation, communication, infrastructure. Infrastructure is a fancy word for the system, like the railway system, the road system. So roads, the railway systems, the electrical lines, and so forth, everything is more up to date, right? More advanced in first world countries. Lots of different rates can be used. We mentioned the population growth rate already, but also like literacy rates. What percent of your population can read and write at, say, an 8th grade level? Infant mortality rates. How many babies die before the age of 1? That would be higher in the third world than it would be in the first world. Okay, so lots of different rates can be used also. The demographic transition. This is a model that was based on what England went through. And it comes in 3 or 4 stages. We'll just do 3 stages. Okay, the first stage is called the pre-industrial stage, where birth rates and death rates are high. So the population doesn't grow very fast. No nations are left in this stage anymore. The second stage is the transition stage, where the birth rates remain high, but the death rates drop. That's due to the diffusion. That means the spreading of medical technology and better sanitation, better housing. So a lot of the third world remains in this stage, where you have a high birth rate and a relatively low death rate. That means that the country's population is going to grow relatively quickly. The third stage is the advanced industrial stage, where a lot of the first world sits, like the United States and Japan and Australia. In this stage, the birth rate also drops. So it drops due to urbanization. In the countryside, it was beneficial maybe to have a lot of kids because they could work on the farms. And so the kids are little economic assets. But in the cities, kids are very, very expensive. So they become economic liabilities. Very expensive to have kids. Plus, more women enter the workforce. There's more access to family planning. So the birth rate drops. So if you have a low birth rate and a low death rate, the population is going to grow relatively slowly. Some countries have entered a 4th stage, which you don't need to write down, where the birth rates have actually, gone to the negative range, where populations are actually declining. You see this in some European countries right now. You see it in Russia and Ukraine also. The 3 parts of the Great Central Valley. So you have the San Joaquin Valley in the south, and then you have the Sacramento Valley in the north. In between, east of the Bay Area, you have the delta of the Sacramento and the San Joaquin rivers. Okay, so the San Joaquin Valley, the Sacramento Valley, and the delta. Precipitation, where is it high and low in the U.S.? Along the west coast of North America, precipitation gradually increases as you go further north. You get closer to the source of the storms, which is the Gulf of Alaska. That's where a lot of our storms here in California in the wintertime come from. So you probably know that there's a lot more precipitation in Seattle than there is, say, in San Diego. So when you go east of the Sierra Nevada, when you go between the Sierra Nevada and the Rocky Mountains, it's very, very dry. The intermontane area, that's called, Nevada and Utah and Idaho, it's in the rain shadow of the Sierra Nevada and the Cascade Mountains. So it gets very, very dry. A lot of the precipitation drops on the western slopes. It's called orographic precipitation. So it drops on the western slopes as the air is forced to rise up the mountains. Okay, precipitation is also low on the Great Plains, just to the east of the Rocky Mountains. Again, it's in the rain shadow. So a lot of the moisture is squeezed out on the western slopes of the Rockies so that it's much drier on the east side. But as you approach the east coast, as you go across the Great Plains, onto the interior plains, into the Midwest, precipitation increases. You have moisture from the Gulf of Mexico, provides a source of precipitation. As you make your way further east to the Appalachians, precipitation increases even more. So, how you want to answer that question? Precipitation increases as you go further north along the west coast. Pretty dry in the intermontane area, in between the mountains, in between the Sierra Nevada and the Rockies. Precipitation is pretty dry in the Great Plains. That's just to the east of the Rockies. And then it increases as you move east onto the interior plains, and then it's even higher in Appalachia. The fall line. The fall line is It's a physiographic boundary between what's called the Piedmont and the eastern coastal plain. So a lot of rivers flow out of the Appalachians. They flow east. They come down out of the mountains and they go on this kind of little bit of higher plateau called the Piedmont. As the rivers drop down onto that eastern coastal plain, there's a change in elevation. And as the rivers cross that boundary right there, there's a series of little rapids or little tiny waterfalls. That's called the fall line. That's along where Interstate I-95 goes along the east coast. The rain shadow of the Sierra Nevada and the Cascades, we've just talked about that. That's going to be on the east side. So most of the storms in the United States go west to east. The storms come from the Gulf of Alaska, and then they're transported by the westerly wind belt across the United States and Canada. As that moisture-filled air hits the Sierra Nevada or the Cascades, it's forced to rise. To make it rain, we want the air to go up. As air goes up, it cools off, and cooler air can't hold as much moisture. So something called condensation occurs. The water vapor, it goes from a gas and becomes a liquid. Clouds form, rain, possibly snow at higher elevations. So that the rain shadow for the Sierra Nevada and the Cascades would be on the east side. Where most of the French-speaking Canadians located, that would be Quebec in the eastern part of Canada. So there's a matching section that says, don't worry about those two matching sections. So hold on for the essay question now. Be sure you watch the second YouTube video. All right, good luck on all this. Remember, type everything up and type out the questions and the answers on the study guide. Be sure you answer those questions from the book also. All right, good luck.